Okay. Right. So, Assalamu alaikum, Hamza.
Excellent, brother.
Thanks for the debate.
Right.
Can you give me a summary of the whole objective of this event?
Well, the whole objective of debates, as many people know, is to basically challenge ideas in the public atmosphere, in the public arena. And as Muslims, we believe that we have the truth, and that truth is justified with lots of reasons. So we were to actually test that truth out in the public domain, to give honor to Islam, to show to Muslims that we're unlike the Christian tradition that has really run away from reason. Rather, reason is part of our tradition. Allah says in the Quran, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, do you not reflect? أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, do you not reflect within themselves? And we have to use our mind and our aql, etc. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ actually meaning do you not use your mind? So this is a part of our intellectual heritage in Islam. So we're going to test ideas out to show to students specifically, and those who are engaging in intellectual sciences, and those who are professionals, to say to them, look, we have good reasons to believe in Islam. It's not blind faith. Like we don't follow our forefathers. We have good reasons. And one of the reasons today was actually the existence of Allah, the existence of God. And we gave an argument. One of the arguments was the refined version of the cosmological argument, which is a Quranic argument in a way, because it agrees with Quranic statements. And it could be summarized in the following way. One, whatever begins to exist as a cause. This is undeniable, historically, philosophically, scientifically. Two, the universe began to exist based on current cosmological evidence that we have, the hot standard model, the Big Bang theory, etc., etc. And also about the infinite, that we can't have an infinite history for the universe because the concept of the infinite doesn't make sense in the real world, and we gave lots of examples for that. So these first two statements are true, then therefore the universe is a cause. So therefore it's a sound and valid argument. But we said, well, cause doesn't mean it's Allah here. It just means it's cause for the universe. But upon conceptual analysis, which means thinking about this cause, we understand that it must be one, transcendent, immaterial, it has a will, which is all in line with قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Say God is one, eternal, absolute, unique. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and nothing like unto him. So this is the kind of justification we brought into the discussion today. And also we talked about the miracle of the Quran, based on linguistic, historical and scientific statements in the Quran, that it's indeed a miracle. Because it's an act of impossibility. You can't explain the Quran via nature, so we have to look for supernatural explanations, which is best explained by the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Peter Cave, the honourable gentleman debating me, I think he failed on a certain point because he wouldn't address our justifications for our explanation for the universe, namely that it did begin to exist, therefore it has a cause. He didn't even address that. He said, well, I don't want that to be the explanation.
I think it diverted slightly, didn't it? It went to Sharia law.
It did, but he does that. I mean, a lot of humanists do that. When they can't really address a philosophical argument, or they just have to agree to disagree, they want to really prove you wrong by saying, well, you stone people to death. So I really said, look, I'm not going to allow you to get away with this because you can't come here into a debate and not read about Sharia law. He made a very kind of media hype type of perspective on Sharia law. So I gave him the newest discussion behind Sharia. It's about mercy and all these other aspects of the newest discussion that we have in our tradition. So here to learn. And
I think the points that Peter came across were completely irrelevant to prove the existence of God or the non-existence of God. I think what you came across is like you proved it from all aspects, from scientific, rationally. It also tells you in the Quran, like you said, correctly said, that you should reflect, you should contemplate. Islam isn't based on blind faith.
I agree. Like Allah says in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ نُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And thus we explain our signs and details and evidence in the universe for those who reflect. يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. What does that mean? That actually means that you have to think deeply about reality. And the conclusions are, in our humble opinion, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists.
Do you know, Hamza, this is only my personal opinion on this, but I think the most important thing that people need to ask and need to convince themselves of the existence of God. Once they're convinced of the existence of God, it doesn't matter what the Sharia law says. Even, in fact, I mean, some people talk about like the beard, for example. Why do men have to grow a beard? Although we know the Prophet ﷺ ordered men to grow their beards and trim their mustaches. Now, it might not make any logical sense why to grow the beard. We might not know the benefits of growing a beard. However, we have to obey, because we are convinced that this is the prophets of Allah, and this is Allah. Now we're convinced we have to obey anything, even if it tells us to walk on our hands, not our feet.
This is a profound point, because I even mentioned the whole point of Islam.
Yeah.
Excuse me, is to remove our egos, submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? That means we know Allah knows better, because He's Allah.
That's right.
For example, I even say this to Christians sometimes. If God told you to wear a leather jacket on Friday, you wear a leather jacket. God said it. You see? And that's how I say to them, that's why we believe in the Quran, and we can prove why it's from God, we submit. And that's the simplicity of Islam.
We can never question.
And everything else, I think is ego. Why do you have a problem with it in the first place? We don't question that. Why do we react negatively to things that the Quran says sometimes? Because we've been socially constructed in a particular way. We've brought up in a liberal society. If we were brought up in another part of the world or universe, we might have a different perspective. So perspectives change based upon environment. But the reason the Quran is true is not based on perspective or environment. It's based because there's good reason to believe it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the point.
Okay, that's excellent.